Alright, so this is going to be part 5 to what if Deku was a Hunter Guardian. So with that being said, I gotta say a few things. First off, if you like the series, please give it a like. It does show your appreciation for these series, and I know which series to do, and yeah. Second off, if you haven't seen Permeation, or What If Deku had Permeation, or What If Deku had Gentle's Quirk, those are my two most recently uploaded what ifs, so I would like it if you were to go and watch those and tell me how you think. So let's talk about what is basically happening at the moment in this series. So in the last part, we just got done with the sports vessel. It was invaded basically halfway through by the hive, and this caused the traveler to react, causing the traveler to basically make more ghosts to resurrect more people to become guardians. So for right now, we have the speaker, which is David Shield, and he is a warlock, and he is basically creating a war mind, a super AI that will help humanity defend itself against, well, the darkness / the hive for right now. So right now, I asked you guys what I should name it, and I saw one in the comment that I kind of liked, and that was Izanami. I believe that's how you say it. But basically, from what the person had said, they were the father of the island or something like that. But anyways, we also came to the point where Nina Shimura, I believe that was her name, but basically she was resurrected and due to the traveler, and therefore becomes a Titan guardian. So yeah, so we get to the point where, or we could continue off where basically Deku was talking with the other teachers to tell him what was happening. Also, one thing, I don't think Stain in this one would continue killing heroes just because of what the traveler does and how it really does affect everyone's personality, not personality, but the way that they look at things, like their worldview, you could say, because of the idea of aliens being real and people becoming closer together. I think Stain wouldn't really have a reason to continue killing, and therefore Ida's brother does not end up, well, I guess, I forgot exactly what happens to him, but he wouldn't attack his brother and wouldn't have made him, paralyzed? So yeah, with that being said, Ida wouldn't have gone and tried to fight Stain because Stain didn't kill his brother, or not kill, but didn't paralyze his brother. So that Stain arc doesn't really happen. So the entire kind of thing with the internships doesn't really happen because of, well, the hive invading. I think some heroes might have sent recommendations, but it really wouldn't be too many because a lot of the kids there didn't really get the chance to show off their powers, if that makes sense. So we get to the point where everything's kind of a mess on Earth, right? Because they weren't expecting this kind of attack. So this causes projects that are meant to advance civilization, like the trip to Mars, kind of halted because they don't know exactly what the hive wants and whether or not they're on Mars, which they are at this point, but they don't know that yet. So things like that are halted. So instead of the Stain arc actually happening, it's gonna be a little bit different. I don't think Stain would be out there trying to kill anyone, especially in a time like this. So instead, what happens is that they do something similar to the training arc, but they would have done it at UA. So instead of going to different heroes, they would have stayed at UA while doing their kind of internship there, I guess, just to make it safer and to also show the public that they're not to show it's like when they did the sports festival, even though they had those villain attacks, it's just to show this it's just to show the like public that they're still in control of the situation, I guess you could say. So yeah, so after a while of this kind of training, this is when, so this would have been like a few days into the internship in the timeline. So this is after All Might, Deku, and the other teachers basically had the conversation about the Hive and the Guardian, or the Guardians, as well as the Traveler, and what their intentions are and what they do. So this is a few days after that. So this is when the students are having their normal kind of training by a bunch of the different heroes that are there, and this is when they get someone a UA. Someone comes in, and not too many people recognize her, and they say, or she says, that she's looking for Tokunori. Oh wait, I believe that was his name. It was Koshinori. I forgot exactly, but it's basically she's saying All Might's real name, and not many people obviously know that. So they bring in All Might, and to All Might's surprise, and what he sees is his old master, Nina Shimura. I believe that was her name, or Nana. Basically, he is in shock. He doesn't know what to feel. He starts crying, and he's basically seeing someone that he felt almost this motherly connection with. He basically thought of Nina as his mother, and to see her become or resurrect basically is something he's never even considered, because who would have? And just to see this, just one more glimpse of her, is enough for him to cry. And he asks her, "How are you here? What happened? Why? I thought you were dead." And this is where she basically says, "Yeah, I don't really know too much, but I guess he can explain." And then this is when she basically brings out the ghost, and this is where All Might basically connects the dots, and he says, "So you're a guardian, just like young Midoriya." And this is when Nina was like, "Oh, who's that? Is that the next successor?" And this is when All Might's like, "No, he's just a kid who's like you, who died and came back to life." And she's like, "Whoa, so there's more than just me?" And he says, "Apparently so." This is when All Might would have called Deku to the teacher's lounge to check this out, and this is where both ghosts basically start talking to each other. They basically tell information that they already know, that the Hive is invading, that Molar Guardians are being created, the Speaker has been well founded, and things like that. So this is where All Might's kind of sitting down and trying to, there's a lot of information to process, and especially for All Might, who basically have this kind of waves of emotion coming through him because of his master being revived. Nana would also basically ask what was happening when or after she passed, and All Might would explain the different things that happened, even with like the fight with All For One, which she would be very proud of him because he was able to beat him, not kill him, but was able to beat him in a fight, which she really couldn't do. So after that, they explained that the recommendation or the internships didn't go as planned because of the Hive attack, so all the students really have to fight, or all the students really have to train at the school. And yeah, so Nana basically gives the idea of training Deku for a bit, since they both are guardians and she doesn't really know how to use the light very well, so both of them would have a lot of well, have a lot of experience with certain things and getting to know certain things that they don't know. So it's a very well trade-off, right? Or not really trade-off, but a very good exchange, you could say. So the reason why she doesn't really know too much is because she's very new to the Guardian and she didn't really have a chance to really use it. So this is a very good opportunity for Nana or Nia, as well as Deku, learning more about himself or the light, as well as learning from someone who trained All Might. So it's a very good opportunity for him. If I remember right, I had Mirio become the next successor for One For All. So he would have trained with Nana as well, because obviously One For All. So in this kind of time, both of them get to know more about their quirks and their, light. So it's mostly since they have no distraction from the Stain arc, they really get that week of training and they understand more about the light and their quirks. So in this kind of week, this is where Deku would unlock some of the more advanced, I guess, light techniques, like the Arc Strider, I believe that's what it's called, the one with the staff instead of the blade. And this is where Nina would basically master the Striker. And what I mean by that is that she would be a Titan because of how she has One For All and basically just overall like a power type. So that's why she would have Striker first, as that is one of the more destructive supers for the Titan. So because she was resurrected, I think she would have One For All still at the point where she had it. So if you don't know, One For All is basically always described as like a fire, right? Or a torch. So you have a fire and then you want to give it to someone. So you take the torch and you give the fire to the next person, but you still have the torch with you. But they have a completely new fire. So your fire basically slowly over time goes and fizzles out. And that's your One For All. And the next person has a new bonfire until it's ready for him to basically pass it on and become the torch. And yeah, at least that's how the metaphor really goes. So, and this, because the light is there, kind of replacing the fire as it always does, because they don't age and things like that. This is what really keeps it up. So that gives him a second One For All. And this one would have been not as strong as the first or as the current one. So if Nana was able to, or was going to give it to someone else, she wouldn't have lost it. And if she gives it to someone else, it'd be as strong as All Might's and not as strong as Deku's, because Deku's is going to be stronger than All Might's eventually. So yeah, so if you guys want me to give this to someone else, you can tell me down below. But obviously a lot of people are going to say give it to Deku, but I don't know, because this gives another chance for another student to have One For All. But who knows? You guys can tell me down below, who do you want it to be. And with that kind of being said, let's continue with the what if. So eventually the week passes for them to kind of train. So Ida doesn't have that kind of encounter with Stain, so instead he actually does get the training off and isn't really blamed, or doesn't blame himself for basically getting his arm becoming numb with that kind of laceration to his arm or his shoulder, I believe. So he doesn't have that kind of injury. Todoroki isn't as close to everyone and doesn't really know, or doesn't really use his fire too often. I think he still would have went with his dad to his agency to basically trying to reconcile with the past and trying to move on as a person. So he's doing this a lot more slowly than he does in canon, because he never got the encounter with Deku where kind of forced him to use his fire. So he does use his fire to a smaller extent, not as much as he does as in canon. Obviously, he still uses it to cool or heat up when he uses too much ice, but I think he would start to slowly use it and evolve into more things. So yeah, with that being said, we go over the villains, or the teachers versus villains, or the teachers versus the students. So each of the kind of each student that would go for each teacher, the different teams would be the same, I would think, and it'd be a lot easier for someone like Deku, since he has so many versatile abilities, to go against someone like All Might, especially after going against Nina for that entire kind of week. So the kind of fights between each of them would have been a lot different in some cases, just because someone like Ida wouldn't have that time to be interrupted and would have gotten a lot of good training in. People like that, especially Todoroki, being more level-headed, I think, in this one than he would in canon. So that would be a very good advantage for him. Also, Bakugo, I think the tension between Bakugo and Deku would have been the same in this one, even after the attack, because he doesn't really understand anything that's happening and it really gets him annoyed. So the kind of tension's still there. I think they would have tried to basically escape from All Might just to make it easier. So Deku would have used like his Void Super, which would have been Night Stalker, and basically shoot at the ground to basically blind All Might. And this isn't really something he can counter. The only way he could really do it is to jump out of the way to get out of its like range. But then again, Deku has, I would say he would have like the triple shot. I forgot what the actual name is, but basically it gives him 3 arrows to shoot out, and it'd be harder for All Might to basically get out of it, as well as using Bakugo there as the kind of main firepower to basically blast All Might away, because he would take more damage from it because of the Night Stalker ability, the quiver. So that's what they would kind of do, and it wouldn't even be like, they wouldn't have to organize it or even plan it out, because it's just a quick setup. You just shoot the arrow and he just goes for it. So it would have been very easy for them to basically push All Might away while also leaving the area. So yeah, so this is where I'm gonna end it after the kind of heroes versus students. So with that being said, this came in the video. If you like this video, please give it a like. If you like this series, please subscribe. And if you made it to the end of the video, please comment down CS so I know that you support the channel. So with that being said, this came in the video. So yeah.